All right, let's dive into generative AI and how it's really changing businesses. We're going beyond the hype today
Yes, definitely beyond the hype.
and looking at some hard data.
For sure.
We're going straight to the source with the 2024 report, Navigating Gen AI's Early
It's
Years.
a good one.
It's from AI at Wharton and GBK Collective. Think of this deep dive as your cheat sheet for
Yeah.
understanding the real trends, the opportunities, and also the challenges that companies are facing as they adopt this tech.
Right, because it's not just about the shiny new toy anymore, is it? We're past that initial wow phase with Gen AI.
Yeah.
Businesses are actually using it now, figuring out the ROI,
Yeah,
the practical application. It's getting real.
that's a good point. It's not all theoretical anymore.
No.
And the report has some great insights from actual business leaders who are using Gen AI right now.
Oh, absolutely.
One tech telecom executive even called it a world changer for their productivity.
Wow, that's a big statement.
Yeah, it is. And that kind of enthusiasm mixed with real-world use cases is what makes this so exciting, I think.
Definitely. And the impact is spreading. Remember last year how some departments were slower to adopt Gen AI, like marketing, operations, and HR?
Yeah, they seem to be lagging behind a bit.
Well, this year, Gen AI usage has practically doubled across all business functions. It's everywhere now.
So it's become truly ubiquitous.
Exactly.
I was really interested in what that retail leader said about Gen AI changing how they create content and plan their strategy. I marked that one in the report.
That's a good one.
And then in HR, people are using it for everything: data analysis, writing memos, even finding potential candidates.
Everywhere.
It really shows you the range of what Gen AI can do. And this huge increase in adoption is matched by a pretty stunning increase in investment, too. Spending on Gen AI has gone up by 130% since last year.
Wow.
The average company is spending $10.3 million on it now. So you can see they're serious about this.
That's a big number.
Yeah. It's not just about throwing money at it, though. Companies are being strategic. They're expanding their teams, creating those chief AI officer roles.
Right, which 46% of companies now have. That's incredible growth.
Yeah. Nearly half of companies already have a CAO. And most companies are choosing to keep their Gen AI strategy in-house rather than outsourcing it.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It shows real commitment to building up expertise internally.
Especially with those concerns about data privacy and security that are becoming more and more important.
For sure. Companies want to be in control of their data and how Gen AI is being used with it. They're realizing it's not just about adopting the technology, it's about doing it in a responsible way.
And I think that shift is reflected in how people's perceptions of Gen AI are changing. Remember all the initial amazement, the curiosity?
It was all so new.
Well, now companies are saying they feel pleased and excited about Gen AI.
It's a more mature outlook.
Right. And it's because they have more experience with it. The more they use it, the more positive they become about it, which is interesting.
Yeah, it's encouraging, and even the worries about job displacement are starting to ease up. The report actually shows a real shift towards leaders believing that Gen AI will make jobs better instead of getting rid of them.
That's really interesting.
It is. One automotive leader said it best, it's about augmentation, not replacement.
I like that.
I do too. It really gets at the potential for Gen AI to empower people
For sure. Make them better at what they do.
rather than making them obsolete, right?
Exactly.
So we're seeing most leaders agree that Gen AI is having a positive impact, but it hasn't quite reached highly impactful status in most areas, at least not yet.
True, except for one big exception, IT. Over half of IT leaders say Gen AI is already having a huge impact for them.
58% to be exact.
58%, yep. Which makes sense given what they do.
It does.
But here's where things get really fascinating. The report shows this mismatch between where companies are using Gen AI the most and where it actually performs the best.
Ooh, that's interesting.
It is. Right, this is where you might want to take notes, because this could change how you think about using Gen AI. Right now, the top uses are things like writing and editing documents, doing data analysis, and summarizing meetings. But those aren't actually where Gen AI shines the most.
So it's being used for more basic tasks, but it excels at more complex ones.
Yeah, and it gets even more interesting.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Well, Gen AI actually gets the highest performance scores for things like data analysis, coming up with new ideas, generating legal contracts, spotting fraud, and writing emails.
Wow, that's kind of surprising, isn't it? You'd think things like writing would be its strong suit.
You would. But it turns out it's actually much better at these other tasks.
So companies might be missing out on some big opportunities by focusing on the more basic applications of Gen AI.
Exactly. It's about understanding where this technology truly excels and then being strategic about how you apply it.
Don't just jump on the bandwagon without thinking it through.
Right. Have a plan.
So if those top uses aren't the main drivers, what is motivating companies to adopt Gen AI, and what's holding them back?
The top reasons have stayed pretty consistent year over year. Boosting productivity, optimizing operations, and making the customer experience better.
Those are all good things.
They are. But the perceived importance of those drivers has actually gone down a little bit compared to last year.
So businesses are getting a little more realistic about what Gen AI can actually do for them,
Exactly. They're moving past the hype
getting down to brass tacks.
and looking at it in a more practical way. Now, as for the barriers, the biggest concerns are still customer data privacy, security risks, and how complex it is to implement.
But it does seem like companies are starting to get more comfortable with the potential risks and how to mitigate them.
Yeah, I think so.
But managing that risk requires being really smart about which vendor you choose, especially with the competitive landscape changing so rapidly.
Absolutely.
We were just talking about how Microsoft seems to be gaining ground on Google.
It's true. They're making moves.
And don't forget about OpenAI and AWS.
Oh, right. They can't be ignored.
That shift alone makes the vendor landscape a lot more dynamic than anyone expected.
For sure. A lot more to consider now.
It makes you wonder if the whole concept of a best vendor will become irrelevant.
That's an interesting thought.
What if we start seeing providers specialize in niche areas, catering to specific industry needs?
I can see that happening.
Choosing the right vendor might become less about overall market dominance and more about finding the perfect fit for your particular use case.
Yeah, like a bespoke solution
Exactly.
instead of a one-size-fits-all.
Right. So it's something to keep an eye on.
Definitely. The landscape is changing fast.
Speaking of the technology itself, let's break down some of the key players.
Sure.
For anyone who needs a quick refresher, we're talking about large language models, or LLMs.
Right, the foundation of a lot of Gen AI applications.
These are the complex algorithms that power many of the Gen AI applications we use every day.
Exactly.
And when it comes to LLMs, OpenAI's GPT is still the dominant force.
It's still the big one.
79% of decision makers are either using it or planning to use it.
Yeah, it's hard to beat.
But it's not the only game in town anymore.
Definitely not.
The report shows that companies are becoming increasingly familiar with a broader range of LLMs.
They're exploring their options.
They're not putting all their eggs in one basket.
Smart move.
And of course, we can't forget about the chatbots.
Oh, yeah, the chatbots.
They've become so ubiquitous.
It seems like there's a new one every day.
ChatGPT and Copilot are the go-to choices for many businesses with commercial subscriptions.
Right, the big names?
While individual users seem to gravitate towards Claude and Perplexity,
Yeah, I've heard good things about those.
it feels like every day there's a new chatbot designed to solve a specific need.
That's amazing.
But with all this talk about technology and trends, it's easy to lose sight of the bigger picture.
It's true.
What does this all mean for the listener?
Right, what's the takeaway?
What are the key takeaways they should be thinking about?
Well, the first thing to understand is that generative AI is not a passing fad.
This is here to stay.
It's rapidly being integrated into the very fabric of businesses of all sizes.
It's incredible how quickly things are changing. Just a year ago, Gen AI felt more like a novelty.
It did, didn't it?
Now it's becoming a core part of how businesses operate.
It's essential.
And that brings us to a crucial point.
Okay, what's that?
The next few years will be critical for businesses to figure out the most effective ways to leverage Gen AI
They need a plan.
while simultaneously mitigating the risks.
Right, that's a balancing act.
We need to move beyond the experimentation phase and into strategic implementation,
Get serious about it.
especially when it comes to those concerns around data privacy and security.
Yeah, those are big ones.
The report really highlighted those as major considerations for businesses.
And rightfully so.
Absolutely.
Businesses need to be proactive about addressing these challenges head on.
Not bury their heads in the sand.
It's about establishing clear guidelines for data usage, implementing robust security measures, and ensuring that the development and deployment of Gen AI is done responsibly and ethically.
So practically speaking, what can businesses do to ensure responsible adoption? What should they be focusing on?
Well, one key area is education.
Educating their employees.
Yes, it's crucial for decision makers and employees alike to understand the capabilities and limitations of Gen AI.
Don't overpromise.
We need to move beyond the hype and develop a realistic understanding of what this technology can and cannot do.
No magic bullets.
Right.
It's like anything else in business.
Exactly.
You can't just throw a new tool at a problem without proper training and expect it to work miracles.
You need to know how to use it.
Investing in training and upskilling programs will be essential.
Absolutely. Make sure your people are ready.
But it's not just about technical skills.
Oh, good point.
We also need to cultivate critical thinking and problem-solving abilities so that employees can effectively work alongside these powerful AI systems.
Right. They need to be able to think for themselves.
It's not about being replaced by AI. It's about working with it.
Exactly.
So it's a two-pronged approach.
Okay. I like that.
Develop the technical expertise to use the tools and the critical thinking skills to apply them strategically.
Makes sense.
And this brings us to another critical consideration.
All right. What's that?
The impact on the workforce.
Ah, yes. The big question.
A lot of people are naturally concerned about the potential for job displacement.
It's understandable.
Every time there's a major technological shift, there are questions about how it will affect jobs.
It's a natural reaction.
But the report suggests we might be focusing on the wrong question.
Oh, interesting. What do you mean? Instead of asking, will AI replace jobs?
Right.
Maybe we should be asking,
Yeah.
how can we use AI to make our workforce better?
I like that.
Remember how we talked about the change in how people see Gen AI?
Yeah, definitely.
More and more leaders are starting to see it as a way to improve jobs, not get rid of them.
So it's about augmentation, not replacement.
Exactly.
Like having a super efficient assistant,
Yeah.
freeing you up to focus on the more strategic stuff.
Right. Think about that retail leader we talked about.
The one who's using Gen AI for content?
Yeah, they're not firing their marketing team. They're giving them the tools to get even better results.
It's about working smarter, not harder.
Exactly.
So maybe we shouldn't be afraid of Gen AI.
I don't think so.
Maybe we should be looking at how it can help us be more productive and creative.
That's the right way to look at it.
But there's a challenge here, isn't there?
There is.
Businesses need to be adaptable
They do.
because this technology is changing so fast.
It's evolving at an incredible pace.
To really thrive in this new world of Gen AI, companies need to be willing to learn constantly
Absolutely.
and adjust their strategies quickly.
And prioritize innovation.
It feels like we're on the edge of a huge shift in technology.
It does, doesn't it?
The businesses that can ride this wave and adapt will be the ones that succeed.
I think you're right.
It's a time of huge opportunity,
It is.
but also a lot of disruption.
For sure.
The companies that can embrace change, learn quickly, and keep innovating will be the ones that write the next chapter of business. But it's not just about businesses adapting, is it?
No, it's not.
Individuals need to be ready for this shift too.
They absolutely do.
This brings up a really important point.
Okay.
How will Gen AI change individual careers?
Right. What skills will people need to succeed in the future?
It's almost like we need another deep dive just to unpack that.
We might.
But we're running out of time for today.
Sure.
Can you give us a quick preview of what those implications might be?
Well, one thing's for sure. The skills that will be most valuable in the future are those uniquely human skills.
Like what?
Things like critical thinking, creativity, emotional intelligence,
Oh, okay.
and complex problem solving. Those are the skills AI still can't really replicate.
So even though Gen AI can automate some tasks, it can't replace human ingenuity and those essential human qualities?
Exactly. And that's where lifelong learning becomes so important.
Right, because things are changing so fast.
In a world where technology is always evolving, people who keep learning and developing new skills will have a big advantage.
They'll be the ones who can adapt to new tools and technologies.
And find new opportunities.
Like a new renaissance.
Oh, like that.
The most successful people will be those who combine technical skills with those essential human qualities.
It's about finding that balance.
And this highlights the potential that exists when human and artificial intelligence come together.
Yeah.
What if, instead of seeing AI as a threat,
Right.
we see it as a chance to unlock new levels of human potential?
I love that idea.
Remember when we talked about how Gen AI is actually best at things like generating ideas and solving problems?
I do.
What if these tools could actually make us even more creative and innovative?
It's an amazing possibility, isn't it?
Imagine a world where Gen AI is like a partner,
Yeah.
helping us come up with new ideas.
And solve tough problems.
Yeah. This isn't just about businesses adapting. It's about humans and AI working together to do incredible things.
That's the key takeaway.
The future of work isn't about us versus the machines,
It's about finding that harmony.
where we each use our strengths to achieve more than we ever could alone.
I think that's a great way to put it.
So, to wrap up our deep dive into the world of Gen AI, we want to leave you with one final thought.
Okay.
What if this isn't just a technological revelation?
Mm,
What if it's a human revolution?
I like that.
What if Gen AI isn't just changing how we work?
Yeah,
What if it's changing how we think, how we create, how we solve problems?
that's a great question to consider.
As you continue exploring the world of Gen AI, approach it with curiosity, a willingness to experiment, and an open mind.
Be open to the possibilities.
Because the future is being written right now, and it's up to all of us to shape it in a way that benefits everyone.
I agree.
Thanks for joining us on this journey.
It's been a pleasure.
Keep learning, keep exploring, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Until next time.
Okay, wouldn't it be amazing to just ask the internet any question and just get like a perfect answer right away? No scrolling through Google, no reading long articles, just boom, the knowledge you need. Well, guess what? We're getting closer than ever. ChatGPT just got a huge upgrade. That's what this deep dive is all about. We're going to break down exactly what's new with it, how it works, and like what it means for all of us. Think of it like your cheat sheet to this whole thing. We're going straight from OpenAI's announcement blog post here. And we really want to help you understand not just the technical stuff, but like the bigger picture of how this could change how we learn and use information.
I think the really fascinating part is that we're not just talking about another search engine. It's like a whole different way of using the entire internet.
Okay, let's break it down. So, ChatGPT can now access and process information from the whole web. It doesn't just give you like pre-programmed answers anymore. It can pull up facts, figures, and even give you links to like where it got the info from.
Exactly. It's making research so much easier. Like imagine trying to learn about something really complex. Before you'd be jumping back and forth between ChatGPT and your search engine, putting the pieces together yourself. Now it does all that for you, like having a super powered research assistant built right in.
And this is what I think is really cool. You don't have to talk like a search engine anymore. Like typing in the perfect keywords. Now you can just talk to it normally, like you're asking a friend, and it remembers what you asked before. So you can go back and forth and refine your search. Can you explain how that works?
Well, think about how normal search engines work. They just match keywords. So you type in best hiking trails near me, and it tries to find websites with those exact words. ChatGPT goes deeper. It actually tries to understand what you mean.
So instead of just giving me every website with hiking trails, it might be like, okay, what kind of hiking do you like? Are you looking for mountain views or like more forest? How long of a hike are you thinking?
Exactly. It's having a conversation to figure out what you want. And that's not all. OpenAI has partnered with big names in news, like Vox Media and Le Monde. So you can get up-to-date info on things like the weather stocks and breaking news, all within ChatGPT.
Yeah, I saw that. It seems like they're trying to make sure this new search is accurate and trustworthy, not just grabbing stuff from anywhere on the web. They're going to reputable sources.
Yeah, that's key. They're really emphasizing that.
Yeah.
Pam Wasserstein, the president of Vox Media, said, this will better highlight and attribute information from trustworthy news sources, benefiting audiences while expanding the reach of publishers. So it's good for everyone.
And honestly, the source linking thing is big for me. You know how many times you
Mm.
read something online and you're like, wait, where did they get that?
hmm
Now you can see exactly what articles or websites ChatGPT is using.
It's all about being transparent and giving users the power to check things themselves. Louis Dreyfus, the CEO of Le Monde, said it well. He thinks AI search is going to be the main way people get information in the future. But it's really important to safeguard journalism's core values and integrity. Being able to verify sources is a big part of that.
Okay, this all sounds amazing, but I gotta admit, I'm a little lost on the how it works part. This fine-tuned GPT-4 and synthetic data, it's a bit over my head. Can you explain it to me like I'm 5?
Okay, so imagine ChatGPT has this huge library. It's got all these real web pages, articles, and stuff. But OpenAI made a special section filled with what they call synthetic information. It's basically carefully written summaries, explanations, and examples that help ChatGPT understand complicated ideas.
So they kind of gave ChatGPT extra knowledge to help it handle those tougher, more detailed questions.
Exactly. By mixing that real-world data with this special synthetic data, they made a system that can understand things and make connections. That it couldn't do with just the web data alone.
That makes a lot more sense. Like, ChatGPT is a student who's not just memorizing facts, but actually trying to understand the material deeply.
That's a great way to put it. It's like they've given it the ability to not just read the textbook, but actually understand the concepts and use them.
And they're not even done yet. The announcement said they're looking for feedback, especially from people in the news industry. They even gave an email address for publishers to share their thoughts. I'm really interested to see what improvements they make based on that feedback.
It's exciting to think about. One thing they mentioned is making the search even more focused.
Hmm.
So like imagine doing all your shopping or planning a whole trip just within ChatGPT. No more jumping between different websites and apps. It would make everything so much smoother.
Yeah, I hate having like a million tabs open when I'm booking a flight or finding a good deal.
Exactly. It would be a game changer.
Anything else they hinted at?
Well, they briefly mentioned their O1 series AI models. These sound really interesting. They're designed for even deeper research, not just finding information, but actually analyzing it and putting it together in new ways. It's almost like building an AI that can not only find the answers, but come up with new insights.
Well, hold on. So instead of just a list of facts, it could actually draw conclusions or make predictions.
That's the idea, and it's still early. But it has the potential to totally change fields like scientific research or market analysis. Imagine an AI that can go through mountains of data and find hidden patterns or trends that humans might miss.
Okay, my mind is officially blown. This is way bigger than just a new search engine. It's like the next step in how we learn things. It's almost like we're moving from a searching mindset to a knowing mindset. Instead of having to hunt down information, it just comes to us,
Yeah, it's like having all the knowledge in the world at your fingertips, instantly accessible, and tailored to exactly what you need.
which is amazing. But it also makes me wonder, if we're getting all these perfect answers right away, are we going to lose the ability to think for ourselves? Part of what makes learning so rewarding is that process of discovery, sifting through different sources, weighing the evidence, forming our own conclusions. Are we going to bypass all of that now?
That's a really good point. It's important to remember these AI tools are just that, tools. They're powerful, but they don't replace human thinking.
So maybe instead of thinking of it as bypassing critical thinking, we should think of it as shifting it to a different level.
Exactly. We can focus on the higher level thinking skills, like analyzing, evaluating, applying the information. Instead of spending all our time gathering information, we can spend more time understanding and using it.
So it's like we're graduating from information gathering to knowledge creation.
I like that. It's subtle but important. And think about what it means for education. Imagine classrooms where students are no longer just memorizing facts, but having deep discussions exploring complex issues and working on projects that push the boundaries of knowledge.
And it's not just classrooms. Think about people who are always learning, professionals who need to stay up to date, anyone who's ever felt overwhelmed by how much information is out there. This could change everything for them.
Absolutely. It has the potential to make knowledge accessible to everyone in a way we've never seen before. It's both incredibly exciting and a little bit scary at the same time.
I know, right? It feels like we're on the edge of something huge. But we're still figuring out what it all means. One thing that stood out to me in the announcement was that they emphasized that any website or publisher can choose to appear in ChatGPT search. It sounds like they're trying to be as inclusive as possible while also giving publishers control over how their content is used.
That's crucial, especially as we navigate this new world. We need to make sure that publishers, especially those producing high-quality original content, are treated fairly,
Yeah.
and that their work isn't just being taken and used without their permission.
It's about finding that balance between innovation and responsibility, making information accessible, but also protecting the people who create it.
Exactly. It's a complex issue,
Mm.
but one that we need to address head on.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this part of our deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground, but there's still so much more to explore. In the next part, we'll be taking a closer look at the ethical implications of this new technology and discussing what it all means for the future of knowledge and information. So stay tuned, and we'll see you back here soon.
Looking forward to it. Yeah, it's like they've given ChatGPT the ability to not just read the textbook, but to actually understand the concepts and apply them.
And they're not even done yet. In the announcement, they said they're actively looking for feedback, especially from like people in the news industry. They even gave an email address for publishers to share their thoughts. I'm really curious what kind of improvements they come up with based on that feedback.
Yeah, it's exciting to think about. One thing they mentioned was making the search even more specialized. So like, imagine you could do all your shopping or plan a trip entirely within ChatGPT. No more jumping between websites and apps.
Yeah. I hate having a million tabs open when I'm trying to book a flight or find the best deal on something.
Exactly. It could streamline the whole process.
That would be a game changer. Is there anything else they hinted at?
Well, they briefly mentioned their O1 series AI models. And these sound really interesting. They're designed for even deeper research capabilities, going beyond just finding information, to actually analyzing it and putting it together in new ways.
Whoa, hold on. So instead of just getting like a list of facts, It could actually draw conclusions or, like, make predictions based on what it finds.
That's the idea. It's still early days, but it has the potential to totally change fields like scientific research or market analysis. Imagine an AI that could sift through mountains of data and find hidden patterns or trends that humans might miss.
Okay, my mind is officially blown. This is way bigger than just a new search engine. It's like the next evolution of how we access knowledge. It's almost like we're moving from a searching mindset to a knowing mindset.
Right.
Instead of having to hunt down information, it just comes to us.
Yeah, it's like having the collective knowledge of humanity at your fingertips, instantly accessible and tailored to your specific needs.
Which is incredible, but it also makes me wonder if we're getting all these instant, seemingly perfect answers, are we going to lose the ability to think critically and independently? Part of what makes learning so rewarding is that process of discovery, you know? Sifting through different sources, weighing the evidence, forming our own conclusions. Are we going to bypass all of that now?
That's a valid concern. It's important to remember that these AI tools are just that, tools. They're powerful, but they're not a replacement for human thought and judgment.
So maybe instead of thinking of it as bypassing critical thinking, we should think of it as like shifting it to a different level.
Exactly. We can focus on the higher level thinking skills,
Mhm.
analyzing, evaluating, applying the information we receive. Instead of spending all our time gathering information, we can spend more time understanding and using it.
So it's like we're graduating from information gathering to knowledge creation.
I like that. It's a subtle but important distinction. And think about the implications for education. Imagine classrooms where students are no longer just memorizing facts, but engaging in deep discussions, exploring complex issues, and collaborating on projects that push the boundaries of knowledge.
And it's not just about classrooms. Think about lifelong learners, professionals who need to stay up to date in their fields. Anyone who's ever felt overwhelmed by the sheer amount of information out there, this could be a game changer for them.
Absolutely. It has the potential to democratize access to knowledge in a way we've never seen before. It's both incredibly exciting and a little daunting at the same time.
I know, right? It feels like we're on the cusp of something truly revolutionary, but we're still figuring out what it all means. One thing that stood out to me in the announcement was that they emphasized that any website or publisher can choose to appear in ChatGPT search. It sounds like they're trying to be as inclusive as possible while also giving publishers control over how their content is used.
That's crucial, especially as we navigate this new landscape.
Mm.
We need to make sure that publishers, especially those producing high-quality original content, are fairly compensated,
Yeah.
and that their work isn't just being scraped and repurposed without their consent.
It's about finding that balance between innovation and responsibility, making information accessible, but also protecting the rights of the people who create it. It's a lot to think about. The new features, the potential benefits, the challenges. We even touched on some of the ethical stuff with this ChatGPT search. But before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with something to really think about.
Yeah, let's get to the heart of it. We've explored the what and the why. But the most important question is, so what?
Hmm.
What does this all mean for us in our everyday lives?
Exactly. So, dear listener, here's a question for you. If we can get these instant, perfect answers straight from the web, just by talking to an AI, how could that change the way we learn, work, and even think?
It really makes you stop and think, doesn't it? Will we become more curious, or will we become too reliant on these tools? Will we lose that drive to dig deeper, to question what we're told?
It's like we're at a crossroads. The choices we make now about how we use this tech could change our relationship with knowledge and information forever.
And it's not just about us as individuals. We need to have these conversations as a society. How do we make sure these AI tools are used responsibly? How do we prevent bias and misinformation?
Big questions, no easy answers. But it all starts with awareness, with people like you, our listeners, engaging in these discussions.
So to everyone listening, keep exploring this topic. Share your thoughts. Ask questions. Let's figure this out together. After all, this is about the future of how we learn and understand the world around us.
And hey, maybe ChatGPT can even help you with that. It is a search engine after all. It could point you to some really interesting articles and perspectives on this very topic.
That's a great point. We can use these tools to learn more about the tools themselves. How meta is that?
I love it. Well, thanks so much for walking us through all of this. It's been a really thought-provoking conversation.
The pleasure was all mine. It's always exciting to be on the cutting edge of these advancements.
And that's a wrap on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep learning. Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're going to be diving deep into something that has the potential to, well, totally change how we think about apps. GitHub Spark.
Ooh, yeah.
Well, imagine if creating software was as easy as writing, a to-do list where anyone could just whip up a custom tool.
Mhm.
For their specific needs, no coding needed
Yeah, no coding experience at all.
at all.
Pretty wild, huh?
It is wild. We're talking about personalized learning aids or like a unique news aggregator, even like that silly game your 6-year-old made up
Without a single line of code.
without a single line of code.
It's pretty amazing.
It is amazing. And we're going to unpack just how this is even possible
Yeah.
using this announcement from GitHub next. So, Spark's big idea is to make creating software as personal as setting up your computer, right?
Yeah,
You think about it.
like your dev environment.
Yeah. You're spending time customizing your desktop, picking out the perfect font, arranging your icons just so. Why shouldn't we have that same power to personalize the apps we use every day?
Exactly. Why not?
So, but then what exactly are these micro apps that Spark makes so easy to create?
Yeah, they're like these mini hyper-focused tools really designed to just do one thing, but do it really, really well.
Okay.
I mean, think about like that really specific spreadsheet you made to track your fantasy football league. It's that kind of laser focus that Spark is all about.
Okay, so I'm picturing these like tiny bespoke solutions for very particular needs. But can you give us like some more concrete examples from what GitHub has actually shared?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So they showcased an allowance tracker for kids,
Yeah.
that teaches them about financial literacy, an animated world of vehicles where kids can learn about different types of transportation, and get this, a custom hacker news client that uses AI to summarize those crazy long comment threads.
Okay, wow. Those are some pretty diverse examples. I can already see how this could be like a game changer for anyone who's ever thought like, man, I wish there was an app that could just, but they didn't have the coding chops to make it happen.
Yeah, exactly. And the key to all this Spark magic is it's super user-friendly toolchain. I mean, it's all about just removing the barriers
Yeah.
and making the whole process, I don't know, almost playful.
Playful. That's an interesting way to describe software development.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
So walk us through this tool chain.
Right.
What makes it so special?
So first up, you have interactive previews, and
Okay.
this is where the playful part comes in. So imagine typing out, what you want your app to do. And as you're typing, you're actually seeing it like come to life on the screen,
Well, hold on.
like right in front of you.
So you can instantly see if your idea is working how you intended it
Yes.
and like tweak things on the fly?
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
like having digital clay you can mold.
Oh, I love that analogy.
Yeah.
That's great.
So, and then there's revision variants, which is where things get even more interesting. Let's say you have, kind of a vague idea for an app. With Spark, you can actually get multiple AI-generated versions of that concept, each one with slightly different takes on your idea.
So it's like you have this brainstorming partner
Totally.
that just happens to be a super intelligent AI.
It really is.
That sounds incredibly helpful for, sparking creativity and exploring different possibilities.
Absolutely, it is. It really speaks to that iterative nature of Spark. It's not about getting everything perfect the first time around. It's about exploring and experimenting, refining your ideas until you hit that sweet spot.
I love that. And speaking of experimenting, what about mistakes? What if I make a change and then I realize, like, oh, no, that was a terrible idea?
Well, that's where the automatic history comes in. Every single change you make is automatically saved, so you can freely experiment without fear.
Hmm.
If you don't like something, just rewind.
So it's like a safety net for your creativity.
Yep.
And I bet that history log could be super valuable for learning.
Oh, for sure.
Like, imagine being able to see how other creators, their ideas evolved, what they tried, what worked, what didn't.
Absolutely. Opens up this whole new level of transparency and learning from each other's creative processes.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And finally, we have model selection, which may sound kind of technical, but it's actually really quite simple.
Okay, break it down for us. What's the deal with these models?
So you basically get to choose which AI brain powers your creation.
Sure.
Think of it like this. If you want a playful, creative app, GPT-4 might be your go-to. But if you need something that's really good at analyzing data, well, Spark will give you different options for that.
So it's all about matching the right tool for the job. I'm already starting to see how Spark could be useful for so many things.
Oh, yeah. And that's just the beginning. We haven't even gotten to the good stuff yet.
Okay.
Because remember, creating an app isn't just about the front end, the part you see and interact with. There's this whole world behind the scenes that makes it work.
You're talking about all the technical stuff, like the code, the hosting, all that? That makes my head spin just thinking about it.
Exactly. But here's the beauty of Spark. It takes care of all that heavy lifting for you. It provides a managed runtime environment, which is just a fancy way of saying it handles all the plumbing and the wiring. So you can focus on being the architect of your app.
Okay, phew.
Yeah.
So I can just focus on what I want the app to do,
Yeah.
and Spark handles all the technical stuff.
Yes, precisely. No need to set up servers or configure databases or wrestle with deployment issues. Spark just makes it seamless, effortless.
Okay, that's really powerful. But what are the specific features of this runtime environment? What makes it so special?
Well, for starters, there's deployment-free hosting. This means that as soon as you create or update your app in Spark, it's instantly live, it's accessible on any device. No need to fiddle with servers or any of that. Spark handles it all.
Hold on, so I could make an app on my laptop, and someone could immediately use it on their phone without me doing anything.
That's exactly right.
Wow, that's pretty mind-blowing.
It's all behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Spark's infrastructure is doing all the work.
That's wild. Okay, so what else does this magical runtime environment offer?
So there's also persistent data storage, which basically means that your app can remember things. Think of like a to-do list app. The tasks you enter are saved, and they're ready for you the next time you open the app.
Ah, so no more losing my progress, having to start from scratch every time.
Exactly.
But does this mean that I need to, like, learn about databases and all that complicated stuff?
No, not at all. Spark's runtime environment has this built-in data store that works seamlessly with your app. You simply tell your app to save the data. Spark takes care of the rest. Incredibly user-friendly.
Okay, that's music to my ears. What else is there?
Well, so this is where things get even more interesting.
Right?
Spark also has integrated model prompting, which lets you add some serious AI power
Yeah.
to your apps
AI power. Okay, now you have my attention.
without being a coding whiz.
What kind of AI features are we talking here?
Think summarization, content generation, translation, even image recognition. I mean, traditionally, adding this kind of stuff would require like writing complex code, understanding, all these intricate AI concepts.
Yeah, no, that's not really my forte.
No.
So how does Spark make that easier?
It uses something called prompts,
Okay.
which are basically just simple instructions you give to the AI. For example, you could say, summarize this article in 3 sentences,
Mm-hmm.
or generate a creative story based on these keywords.
And Spark's AI will just figure it out.
Exactly. They process the information, they deliver the results based on your prompts. It's like having a whole team of AI experts at your beck and call.
That's incredible. It really feels like Spark is opening up a whole new world
It really is.
for people who they're not coders, but they have these amazing ideas
Here
for
we go.
apps.
It is.
It's really.
Yeah. And we've only just begun to explore the potential of Spark. But before we get too ahead of ourselves, it is still in technical preview, so it's still evolving. It's getting even better as we speak.
So there's even more exciting stuff on the horizon.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. What kind of hints did the source material give us?
So they highlighted 3 main areas that have the potential to be, well, pretty game-changing. First up is expanding collaboration. So imagine Spark becomes this platform, not just for creating apps, but sharing them, remixing them, even co-creating them.
It's like a social network
Yeah.
for app creators. I love that idea.
It'd be amazing to see what people come up with.
Yeah.
All these collaborative projects.
For sure.
And then there's deeper customization. The source material mentions something called X-ray mode, which sounds pretty cool.
Okay, so I'm picturing like this futuristic interface where you can like see the inner workings of your app. What exactly is X-ray mode?
Think of it as a way to like really get under the hood and fine-tune specific behaviors without needing to code. For those that want a little more control.
Okay, so it's like striking that balance between ease of use for beginners and then these more advanced options for, people that want to dig a little deeper.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then the third area of exploration is expanding capabilities.
Yeah.
And this is where things get really interesting
Okay.
because the possibilities are basically limitless.
Okay.
They mention things like integration with third-party services, file storage, even vector search.
Wow. That sounds like Spark is really on a trajectory to become this incredibly versatile and powerful platform.
Absolutely. The potential is vast.
Yeah.
I mean, it spans everything from like, personal productivity to education to entertainment.
Right.
and beyond.
It's amazing to think that we're like witnessing the birth of this tool that could change how we think about creating and using software.
Absolutely.
It's very cool.
It is.
So before we move on to answer your burning questions about Spark, yes,
We want to leave you with a final thought, a question to ponder as you contemplate the possibilities of this groundbreaking tool.
imagine a world where anyone, regardless of their skill level, could create an app. What kind of impact could that have on our society, our culture, our daily lives?
That's a really profound question. We'll give you all a moment to reflect on that while we take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be diving into your insightful questions about GitHub Spark. Stay tuned.
Welcome back, everyone. I don't know about you, but my mind is kind of buzzing with possibilities after that deep dive into Spark's features. It feels like we've only scratched the surface.
Oh, we have. You're right to be excited. But before we get too carried away with all the amazing things Spark can do, let's take a step back and address a question that might be lingering in your minds.
Okay.
How does Spark actually turn your ideas into working code?
That's a great point. We've talked about describing what you want your app to do, in like plain English. But how does that translate into, the ones and zeros that computers understand? It sounds like magic.
Yeah, it might feel like magic, but it's actually the result of some, incredibly clever engineering and powerful AI. Remember how we talked about model selection?
Yeah.
Well, those AI models, they're the secret sauce behind Spark's code generating abilities.
So when I tell Spark I want an app that helps me plan my weekly meals, an AI model just like figures out how to turn that into lines of code.
Exactly. Those models have been trained on like mountains of code and data, allowing them to understand your intent and then generate that code to bring your vision to life.
That's incredible, but I imagine there's still a level of like refinement involved. What if the AI doesn't quite get it perfectly on the first try?
Well, that's where those interactive previews and revision variants we talked about, they come in. Remember, Spark is all about that iteration and collaboration, even with the AI. You can see the result of your instructions in real time, and if something isn't quite right, you can refine your description or choose from the AI's suggestions.
So it's like a back and forth process, like a conversation between the user and the AI until you get that?
That desired outcome, I love that. It's like having a superpowered coding buddy that's helping you refine your ideas.
Exactly. And with the automatic history, you can always go back to previous versions, undo changes, or even explore different paths. It really encourages that experimentation.
It's like having a time machine for your app development.
It really is.
Okay, so speaking of different paths, let's talk about the visual side of things. Spark boasts the thumbable design system, but what does that actually mean for the user?
So basically, you don't need to be a graphic designer to make your apps look amazing. Spark provides this set of, pre-designed UI components and themes that you can easily apply to your creation.
So like buttons, menus, layouts, all that's already like taken care of. Exactly. You can customize, colors, fonts, the overall style to match your preferences or even like your brand if you have one. It's all about empowering you to create these like really polished professional looking apps without needing a design degree.
Oh, that's fantastic. For someone like me who can, code a bit but struggles to make things look aesthetically pleasing. Okay, so let's shift gears now and talk about the behind the scenes magic that makes these apps actually work. We keep mentioning the managed runtime environment, but what does that actually entail?
So this is where Spark really shines in terms of simplifying the development process. Think back to that analogy we used. You're the architect designing your app, but you don't have to worry about the plumbing, the electrical wiring, any of those complex systems that, keep a building running.
Because Spark handles it all for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Traditionally, building an app requires setting up servers, managing databases. You're dealing with a whole bunch of technical headaches. But Spark's managed runtime environment takes care of all that in the background. So you can just focus on, the creative aspects of your project.
So I can just dive into building the app.
Yeah.
And Spark's handling all the technical stuff for me.
That's exactly it. No more wrestling with server configs or spending hours troubleshooting databases. Spark takes care of it all, making it super accessible and, user-friendly. But let's break down some of the key features of this runtime environment.
Yes, it all sounds so seamless. I'm curious to understand what's happening under the hood.
Okay, well, first up, we have deployment-free hosting, which we touched on earlier. It means that your app is instantly live and accessible on any device as soon as you hit Save in Spark. No separate deployment step needed.
That's incredible. It really removes all the like the friction and barriers that traditionally come with, getting an app out in the world.
Exactly. And then there's persistent data storage, which, as we discussed, it allows your app to remember information.
Right, like saving user preferences or remembering items in like a shopping cart. It's essential for making apps feel, truly personalized.
Exactly. And the beauty is Spark provides all this functionality
Yeah.
without you needing to know anything about databases or, complex data structures. It's all handled seamlessly in the background.
So it's like having this like personal assistant who just takes care of all the tedious details.
It is.
Okay, so what other tricks does this magical runtime environment have up its sleeve?
Well, this is where we get to the really exciting stuff, integrated model prompting.
Okay.
Remember how we talked about adding AI superpowers to your apps?
Yes, I'm all ears. Tell me more.
So it's surprisingly simple. You define these things called prompts, which are basically just like plain English instructions. For
Hmm.
the AI models, let's say you want your app to, summarize news articles. You could create a prompt that says, give me a 3-sentence summary of this article, highlighting the key takeaways.
And Spark's AI models will just take that instruction and do the rest.
Exactly. They analyze the article, they extract the most important information,
Yeah.
and they generate a concise summary, all based on your prompt.
That's amazing. It feels like we're like on the verge of this whole new era of app development
Yeah.
where anyone can use the power of AI to make like truly intelligent and interactive experiences.
It really is an exciting time. It's democratizing access to these, very powerful technologies,
Mm.
making it possible for anyone to build apps that were, I don't know, once only imaginable in science fiction.
It's pretty mind-blowing to think about the possibilities. But before we get too carried away with, visions of the future, we have one more crucial aspect of Spark to cover. What about the future of Spark itself? What can we expect to see as this platform continues to evolve?
That's a great question, and luckily the source material we're working with gave us some pretty tantalizing hints
Hmm.
about what the future holds for Spark.
All right, deep divers, we're back and ready to jump into some of your questions about GitHub Spark. It seems our exploration of this AI-powered app creation tool has it's sparked a lot of curiosity.
It really has, and it's fantastic to show that people are starting to really grasp the potential here. So let's get right to it, shall we?
Let's do it. So our first question comes from Sarah, who asks, how does Spark handle privacy and security? If my app is hosted on GitHub servers, is my data safe?
That's a really important question, Sarah, and one that should be, top of mind for anyone dealing with personal data. Now, while the source material doesn't go into specific security measures, it's important to remember that GitHub, they have a really strong reputation for prioritizing security, protecting user data.
Right. And we also have to consider that Spark is still in technical preview, meaning, it's under active development, it's going through rigorous testing, security being a huge part of that.
Exactly, as Spark moves closer to a public release.
Hmm.
I think we can expect to see a lot more detail about their security protocols and, data handling practices, transparency, and user trust they're paramount in this space.
Absolutely. Our next question comes from David, who wants to know, will Spark eventually replace traditional coding? Are developers going to be out of a job?
Ah, yes, the age-old question of, AI and its impact on jobs.
Hmm.
While Spark definitely, simplifies app creation
Mm.
and empowers a wider audience to build software, it's highly unlikely that it's going to, like, fully replace traditional coding.
Think of it this way. Spark is this incredibly powerful tool. It can automate certain tasks, lower the barrier to entry. But complex applications, the ones that, really push the boundaries, they're going to still require that expertise, that ingenuity of human developed.
Exactly. There's an art to coding. There's a deep understanding of logic and structure
Mm.
that, at least for now, AI can't fully replicate. Spark is more likely to, augment the work of developers, freeing them from those repetitive tasks and allowing them to really focus on, the creative and challenging aspects of development.
It's about collaboration, not replacement, right? Empowering both non-coders and experienced developers to work together to build something amazing. All right, so our next question comes from Emily, who asks, what types of apps are best suited for Spark? Can I create any app I can imagine?
That's a great question, Emily. And while Spark is super versatile, it is designed for creating what we've been calling these micro apps. Those small, focused tools that do one thing really well.
Think of those like everyday tasks you wish you could automate,
Yeah.
or like personal projects you've been dreaming of, or even those like bursts of creative inspiration you want to bring to life.
Yeah, yeah.
Those are perfect for Spark.
For those larger, more complex applications with, the really intricate features and demanding performance needs, traditional coding approaches might still be a better fit.
Right, but for those like everyday needs, those moments when you think, I wish there was an app for that. Spark gives you that accessible and powerful platform to make it happen.
It's all about choosing the right tool for the job. And Spark really excels at creating micro apps simple, intuitive, and even, fun.
And fun is something we definitely need more of in the tech world.
We do.
Finally, we have a question from Alex who asks, when will Spark be publicly available? I'm really eager to try it out.
Well, Alex, the anticipation is definitely building.
Hmm.
But since Spark is currently in technical preview, there's no, official release date just yet. But the best way to stay updated is to sign up for that waitlist on the GitHub Next website.
And based on the buzz and the pace of development, I think it's safe to say that we can expect a public release in the not too distant future.
In the meantime, I encourage everyone to, explore the source material we've discussed today, delve deeper into this world of AI-powered app creation, and let your imaginations, run wild.
Who knows, maybe the next groundbreaking app will be born from a spark of inspiration ignited by this very deep dive.
It's a really exciting time to be witnessing this. This democratization of app development, the power to create, is now in everyone's hands.
That's a great point. And on that note, we want to leave you with one final thought. If you could create any micro app, what would it be? Let us know in the comments below. Until next time, keep exploring, keep creating, and keep diving deep into the world of technology.